Hello, ladies and gents. If you don't know, if you're on my channel, this is Reckless, representing Reckless Gaming here. And today we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Origins. Not a review, this is more of a preview to the game as it will be coming out on PS4 and Xbox One on October 27th, 2017. I was able to play AC Origins this year at Toronto Fan Expo. For those who don't know, I am from the Toronto area or Greater Toronto area here in Ontario, Canada. Now, this marks the 10th year anniversary for the franchise for Assassin's Creed. It first came out in 2007 with this guy right here, Altair ibn Ahad. I don't know if anyone still remembers this guy, but he's actually my favorite assassin. I always looked at him as being kind of the origin story for Assassin's Creed, as he was the first official one that was released in 2007. But now here with Assassin's Creed Origins, we're going to learn about Bayek, who is actually considered chronologically the founder of the Assassin Brotherhood. Now, after Assassin's Creed, we had Assassin's Creed 2 with Ezio Auditore da Firenze, who had his trilogy with Brotherhood, and then with Revelations. Then came Connor in Assassin's Creed 3 during the American Revolution, and then we had Connor's grandfather, Edward Kenway, in Assassin's Creed Black Flag, followed by Shay Patrick Cormac in Assassin's Creed Rogue, who was an assassin that eventually became a Templar, and then that kind of tied into Assassin's Creed Unity with Arno Victor Dorian, and then Jacob and Evie Fry in Assassin's Creed Syndicate. So those are the 9 previous Assassin's Creed games that came out in the past over the last previous 9 years. And as I said, today we're going to talk about Assassin's Creed Origins. I'm hoping this video will be maybe about 10 minutes long or so, maybe less. I just want to give you guys some insights as to what I noticed when I got to play the game. So as I said, we were at Fan Expo and they had a 20-minute demo set up in the Xbox booth. Unfortunately, Ubisoft did not have a booth this year at Fan Expo, but they did have a representative on site at the Xbox booth that was able to take feedback and answer questions, and I was really appreciative of that because I really like Ubisoft. I know that people have their constructive feedback that they've given over the last few years, especially with this franchise, but Ubisoft is still one of my favorite gaming franchises to this date, partially because obviously Assassin's Creed is my favorite gaming franchise. Still, I consider it to be my favorite gaming franchise right now over the last 2 console generations. So they did have a 20-minute gameplay demo at their booth for Xbox. I played a total of 60 minutes during the Fan Expo. It was on Xbox One X actually, so I got to see it and play it in 4K, which was really cool. The resolution was amazing. It was really vibrant. And I mean, for me, I'm someone that, as you can tell, I wear glasses, so seeing things in the highest definition possible is really nice. For me, I don't have an Xbox One or a PS4 Pro. I am a PlayStation gamer, but I have just a regular PS4, so I'll be playing it on console and PS4. But I still think it'll look amazing either way. Now, for the wait times during the gameplay demo, we had to wait anywhere from half an hour to an hour plus, depending, because the line was just so long for this game. And I'm really happy to have seen that, because I thought that, if there's so much of a hype behind, playing this demo, imagine how many people, once they actually got their hands on a physical copy on October 27th, the love's just going to be there. And, a lot of people really did want to support this game and were supporting this game at the Fan Expo. There were a couple of critics, but the people that were criticizing, I felt, weren't really true fans of the franchise. So I didn't really take their opinions as more of anything within more than a grain of salt. So, for me, it's still my favorite gaming franchise, and a lot of other people's favorite gaming franchise as well. I do want to thank Xbox though for and Ubisoft for giving me some thumbsticks for coming out and showing support and playing the demo. If you want to see what they look like, this is my PS4 controller. So this is actually what it looks like with the Assassin's Creed thumbsticks. You have the symbol here for Assassin's Creed Origins, as well as another symbol. This is the symbol that's on the back of Bayek's shield. If you've seen in a lot of the press and promo that have come out for it so far. So yeah, I was really happy that they gave me that. It was really a nice gesture of them. And once again, I just want to thank the Ubisoft rep that was on site. I can't remember what his name was, but I was able to speak with him quite a bit over the course of the 3 days that I was at the Expo. But yeah, let's get right into it here. So for first point, if you notice I'm looking up here, it's because my notes are actually over here. For visuals, the game was visually stunning, and you actually feel like you were in ancient like Memphis and Alexandria, and in the ancient times in Egypt, and it was really great to see. There was extensive color palette. They have rich golds, browns, and whites, depicting the sands and stone structures. And then for like the foliage, they had a lot of lush greens and yellows that make up the majority of the plant life in the cities there. And you can see like the nice vistas in the countrysides there as well. Now, combat is overhauled, and it needs time to be mastered in AC Origins. For me, being someone that's played the franchise for the last 9-10 years, it's kind of been not repetitive, but you get used to being into a groove where, okay, that there's going to be a counter kill coming up, so you're anticipating when the enemy's going to make that one move, and then you're going to counter. And you kind of had, I think, a counter button, if I'm not mistaken, from many of the games previously, where it kind of made the combat somewhat easy after a time once you got further progressed into the game. But I found with AC Origins, they really did change the combat. It does still feel Assassin's Creed, but it's different enough where you're gonna need to put time into mastering the combat, and also the skill trees, the new skill trees that they have with warrior, I believe seeker, and I'm trying to remember the third archetype that you can pick, but they kind of lap over each other, and you want to mix and match, and eventually I think by the end of the game you can get a full skill tree of all three different sets. But yeah, definitely you want to strategize your skill trees coming up. And I did actually have quite a few struggles with the combat initially, because you can use like sword and shield, but then also sword and spear. And I would definitely suggest to get the multi-weapon skill unlocked like as soon as possible. And what that is it allows you to actually use multiple different weapons, so you can have the sword and the shield, or the spear and the shield option to use. Because otherwise you would have either one or the other initially, and then as you progress and as you build up, you get a chance to unlock more weapon types. And I think you can even do like a double sworded kind of Spartacus style combat system as well. So one thing I will say is, for your bow and arrow, the quiver is not unlimited. I don't remember seeing like a min max for the quiver, but I remember, and I'll talk about it a little bit later on in this video, just about the camps that you can raid. The Roman camps that are there. For me, I preferred, as far as combat though, the sword and the shield over the spear and the shield, and I think it's just because it's more what I'm used to as far as the franchise, and even other gaming franchises that were similar kind of combat to this. I find it's very similar to The Witcher as far as the combat, or like kind of like the more like Arkham style a little bit than the previous games have been in the past. But yeah, I would spend a lot of time practicing in the combat. When you're not doing side missions or main missions, just try to go out there and see and test out different strategies. And there's going to be some other things I'll get into a little bit later on as well. So I did want to also talk about Senu. If you don't know, Senu is the original kind of version of Eagle Vision, which is one of the features that has been very present in the Assassin's Creed franchise, where from Desmond Miles to Altair to Ezio to all of the others, Eagle Vision allowed you to really see kind of who the enemies were, who the allies were, highlighted targets. This is very much the same, but with Senu. So Senu actually can see the overall horizon when they're flying. So you actually can scope out a wide range of areas. The maps, the maps and the enemies are and points of interest are always highlighted with kind of like an icon. Again, similar to kind of Witcher 3 Wild Hunt style, where you see the levels above their head, or you'll see a gold action or icon above the highlighted targets that are like the main enemy targets or high value targets. Sorry. And yeah, it definitely does it makes it easier to see, because I know in some of the previous Assassin's Creed games, as much as I loved being in Eagle Vision, for some things it made the picture somewhat it's dark in some areas, so you wouldn't necessarily see the whole thing. It was kind of reminding me of in the Matrix, when, spoiler alert, when Neo loses his sight, he's kind of looking at things in Matrix code, so you see like the gold or like the highlighted figures, but then everything else kind of gets washed out. And I think maybe that's why they kind of went with this look. And I'm like I said, I love Eagle Vision, I always have, but that was one probably thing I think they could have tweaked a little bit, as far as maybe either the coloration or the lighting with previous Eagle Vision. Sometimes in some of the other games, it was a little bit dark in some of the areas. So it's cool to see kind of that you're actually still in game. You're not removed from that connection, and it's just cool having a pet eagle to fly around and look at stuff, and it actually just takes a different perspective to the gameplay. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the missions that I played and the different things that I did over the course of the 3 days and my 3 different chances at the demo. So I did get to play a main story mission, a side mission, and I also spent the 3rd day just kind of free roaming and seeing like the landscape and the area that they gave in the box, or the build, sorry, that they had. Now I did try to see if I could kind of swindle my way get into the Gladiator arena. And I know I talked about Spartacus earlier, and that's kind of why I referenced that, because there is a Gladiator arena in Assassin's Creed Origins. But unfortunately, Xbox, they were kind of like, no, we're not really supposed to show that here at this particular event. So I was kind of bummed out that I didn't get to do that, which is why I kind of just chose to free roam on the last day, just so that I could kind of just see the landscapes and whatnot. But let's see here. So one thing that they did do, actually, which wasn't too bad, is they gave me an extra set of the thumbsticks. Now this is another close-up of what they look like. I showed you on the controller before, if you want to see side by side kind of how it looks. But yeah, they did give me the extra thumbsticks, which I'm thankful for. But yeah, I really wanted to try to see the Gladiator arena, and I'm looking forward to that when the game does come out. So the first mission, as I said, was a main story mission that I played. It involved a little girl, and I won't get into kind of story specifics because this is a spoiler-free video. But essentially, you meet a little girl and her family, and you find out that they're tied up in a larger kind of political type of situation that you wouldn't have expected initially when you first kind of encounter them. And I kind of skipped through the dialogue. It was kind of recommended, since we did only have 20 minutes each session, just so that you're able to kind of go through and see the gameplay. Oh boy. That was not expected. Technical difficulties. No worries. So I'm just getting back to my notes. Sorry for the interruption with my computer screen there. But yeah, I can do this off of memory. It's no issue. So yeah, the main story mission was sorry about that, guys. The main story mission was with like I said, the girl and the family, and some political implications that were involved there. But it was interesting to kind of see how it came to fruition in the end of the mission. and you have to do like some scouting and some more stealth type things. And you can go kind of in the middle to end part and do some kind of high level, assassination type things. But I decided to kind of keep it stealth as much as I could. The second mission was a side mission, and it involved a woman and her informant. She was trying to give you some information, but also needed some help as well. And I believe the informant was Greek, if I'm not mistaken, or possibly Roman. And you have to basically save her informant so that she can then give you information and help you on your mission in the main story. And that was actually a good mission as well. Just kind of seeing that the interactions that you can be on kind of either a free roam or a main story mission, and you meet different people in living their life, in the game world, in the sandbox, and then you can kind of go from one to the other. It's very seamless. You don't have to stop the mission that you're doing to do a side mission. You can come right back to it afterwards, which is really great. And for the last session that I had, like I said, I was free roaming, hunting hippos, doing camp assaults, and yeah, the hippos were actually pretty interesting because I've never seen that I can remember hippos being in a game, much less an Assassin's Creed game. But they get kind of pissed off pretty easily. So if you're in or near like a hippo kind of encampment, or I don't know what you call like a den or whatever, where the hippos are, just be a little bit careful. Try to be stealthy if you can, because before you know it, you'll have like a whole kind of section of hungry hippos trying to attack you all at once. And yeah, it can be a little bit complicated. On the plus side though, the killing hippos or hunting them, it's very similar, reminiscent to me of Assassin's Creed 3, where Connor would be the hunter going into the frontier and hunting wolves or mountain lions or so like bears and whatnot, and getting like the hides. Then you could use them for for crafting. And there's really a high level of crafting from what I've seen thus far in Assassin's Creed Origins. And I don't know how deep it goes, but I want to say it's again very reminiscent of The Witcher 3. And I know that they're very different types of games and styles of games, for the most part, but Assassin's Creed Origins really plays like an RPG, an action RPG, which I really like actually. I like that it seems a lot less linear than it was in the initial game 10 years ago. And although I really enjoyed Altair's story, I wish that we could have gotten more of that throughout the years, kind of like we did with Ezio. But I like having a linear story to some degree, but this seems a little bit more free, more open, like some of the other games that I mentioned earlier, which I was really happy to see this time around. But yeah, definitely the hunting, you get to have like the hides and different resources that you can then use to craft either weapons or armor. And there's a tiered system with the armor. It reminds me kind of Destiny a little bit, where you have like your greens, your blues, your purples, and I think your golds for kind of not the Destiny, they call them exotics, but I guess it'd be like premium armor or weapons for Assassin's Creed Origins. But I kind of like that too. And like I said, you get to craft and build as you go, and I think you can even like dismantle old parts to give you the pieces that you need to make higher level gear in the future. So all in all, I think it's really good what I've seen so far, and I'm really looking forward to playing this game throughout the entirety. One last bit before I kind of get to kind of things I'm really looking forward to when the game actually drops is I remember one sequence. Actually, I think that might tie into a little bit when. Actually, yeah, that does kind of tie into my points for what I'm looking forward to now that I think about it. But it would be Bayek and his dealings with like the first civilization or those who came before. And I say that because I remember there was somebody in one of the versions that I played throughout the weekend that I did assassinate someone in one of the missions, and it was kind of similar to the other Assassin's Creed games where you assassinate someone and then you talk to them for a little bit, but visually what happened kind of after the assassination and when I was talking to this particular character, it kind of reminded me of the first Civilization, kind of some of the imagery and some of the things that I was seeing. So I'm wondering if they're kind of going to show kind of how humankind first connected with them. I mean, I don't know that this is kind of the first time that humankind has encountered the first civilization, being during Bayek's time, but because he's the original kind of Grand Master of the Order and the one who founded the Order, I'm curious to see kind of how that kind of plays out. Another thing I'm looking forward to seeing is just ancient Egypt, as a whole. For me, I grew up watching, the old Charlton Heston Ten Commandments movie, back in like 1958 or whatever, and just loved like, the history of Egypt and the architecture, and just being able to go and see, because nowadays when we look at pictures of Egypt or when we think of Egypt, we think of, pyramids of Giza, the Sphinx, and everything's kind of just goldish brown and everything's kind of just pale palette, but you actually get to get immersed into the world of Assassin's Creed Origins and ancient Egypt by being able to see, the pyramids actually they're white and they are capped with a gold kind of, I don't know, triangle, like tetrahedral type of thing on top, like an almost like an obelisk, which is really really cool. I didn't really know that about the pyramids before. You don't really see that in a lot of the movies that have been depicted. It's kind of just brown or goldish colored, which is really cool. And you don't really think of a lot of there being like a lot of not really forested, but just areas where you have a lot of foliage and plant life, and seeing lush colors and bright colors in Egypt, where the way that we normally see it or think of it being today. So I really want to see kind of how that looks as a whole based on what I've seen up to this point. And I also want to see why it's important that Bayek decided at that time to be the founder of this assassin order, and to why it was needed and why why it was relevant at that moment in time to be the beginning of this new kind of era of this order. Because if you don't know already, it's set in the time of Alexandria and her brother Ptolemy, and I believe, based on what I've seen at least in the promo, that you're on the side of Alexandria, Cleopatra, sorry, and Caesar makes appearances, and it's kind of during the time of I believe his rise. I'm wondering if Mark Antony actually shows up, because I know that him and Cleopatra had a dynamic too, and they made movies about that in the past as well. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. And the gladiator arena, as I said, very much reminds me of Spartacus. If you've not seen Spartacus, the show with Andy Whitfield, that came out a few years back, I would say it's kind of like 300 but fully gladiator style. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to some of that and the different weapons you can use in the arena, and I want to know if you'd be able to use them in game outside of that element. And I'm really just looking forward to seeing kind of a lot of the new things that they've added as well, and some of the familiar things as also. And yeah, that's pretty much it for what I got for this video. That's my preview of Assassin's Creed Origins. If you do like what I've shared here today, feel free to like, and if you want to subscribe, then that would be great. It would definitely help the channel. And yeah, if you guys have any ideas for more or other videos, or if you want to see me do more Assassin's Creed type content, then let me know in the comments below. But thanks. Have a great day.